Midnight call. At midnight, the phone rang. Shen Huai was startled awake by the eerie ringtone. Half asleep, he reached for his phone. The screen displayed an unfamiliar number. His brows furrowed. A call at this hour was never a good sign. He hesitated for a moment but answered anyway. Hello. The other end remained silent for a few seconds. Then, a hoarse, low voice came through. Do you still remember me? Shen Huai's heart clenched. The voice sounded familiar, yet he couldn't recall who it was. Who are you? Another brief silence. Then, the caller let out a low, eerie laugh. Like nails scraping against a rusted metal door. A chill ran down Shen Huai's spine. You've forgotten me, haven't you? His palm was damp with sweat. Irritated, he said, you've got the wrong number. Just as he was about to hang up, the voice on the other end spoke again, softly. You live at 42, Mingguang Road, 7th floor, don't you? Shen Huai's pupils shrank. His breath hitched. Who the hell are you? Heh, we've met before. But you don't remember. His throat went dry. Static crackled through the phone. Then, a whisper emerged from the distortion. He's right outside your door. Shen Huai's heart stopped. His eyes darted toward the door. A shadow slowly crept beneath the gap. His breath turned shallow. His body, frozen. Don't open the door. The voice in the phone distorted, breaking apart. He is not human. Knock, knock, knock. Slow, deliberate. Chill spread through Shen Huai's bones. His grip on the phone weakened. With a trembling voice, he asked, who are you? How do you know all this? The next words made his blood run cold. A voice, unmistakably his own, replied. I am you. The you who died in this apartment 3 years ago. His world shattered. No, impossible. This had to be a sick joke. Then, a recording played through the phone. A voice, his voice, weak, desperate, drowning in agony. Help me, don't let him in. He's here. Don't. The recording cut off. The knocking outside stopped. Shen Huai's whole body was ice. His eyes remained locked on the door. The shadow under the gap remained unmoving. His breath hitched. His phone slipped from his fingers. The screen displayed the call duration. 3:33. Suddenly, the doorknob turned. A gust of cold air seeped in. His phone screen flickered. A final message popped up. Don't look back. His heart pounded wildly. He held his breath, but he couldn't resist. Slowly, he turned his head. The door was open. Midnight fragrance. The night was deep, and the city had fallen silent. At midnight, the streetlights flickered, mist drifting through the alleys. Lin Yuan returned home from overtime, dragging his exhausted body into the elevator. He lived on the 13th floor. The apartment was old, the elevator often shaky, the doors closing painfully slow. Tonight, something felt off. A strange fragrance lingered in the air. Faint floral notes, sickly sweet, like night jasmine mixed with the scent of decay. Lin Yuan frowned. The smell unsettled him in a way he couldn't explain. Who sprays perfume this strong? He muttered under his breath, glancing around the elevator. Empty. He was alone. Ding. The elevator reached the 13th floor. The doors slowly slid open. The hallway was dim. The overhead light flickered a few times before stabilizing. The fragrance grew stronger, as if it was coming from inside his apartment. Lin Yuan's heartbeat quickened. He was sure he never used any kind of fragrance. Reaching for his keys, he inserted one into the lock. Just then, he heard it. A soft chuckle. A woman's voice. Someone was inside. Lin Yuan stiffened. His grip on the key tightened. He shoved the door open. The living room was dark. The scent hit him like a wave, thicker, sweeter, more unsettling. Holding his breath, he reached for the light switch. Click. The light came on. The room was empty. The sofa was neat. The glass on the coffee table sat untouched. Lin Yuan stood at the doorway, an uneasy feeling creeping up his spine. That laugh. Had he imagined it? Slowly, he stepped inside and locked the door. As he moved toward his bedroom, he heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. Footsteps. He spun around. Nothing. The room was still. The air, thick with that suffocating fragrance. It clung to him, as if someone was standing right behind him. He forced himself to stay calm. Striding into the bathroom, he turned on the faucet and splashed cold water on his face. His reflection stared back at him from the misty mirror. Then, he smelled something else. Blood. The sweet floral scent now carried a metallic sharpness. His stomach twisted. Slowly, his gaze shifted to the bathtub. The shower curtain was slightly drawn. A small gap, just enough to suggest someone, or something, was behind it. His breath quickened. His heart pounded. No, there couldn't be anyone there. But his body moved on its own. His trembling fingers reached out. He pulled the curtain back. Nothing. The bathtub was empty, spotless, as if it had never been used. But the fragrance, it was stronger than ever. Then, he noticed it. The drain. Long, black strands of hair, slipping out, curling along the surface. His stomach lurched. He stumbled back. His phone rang. The screen showed an unknown number. With shaking hands, he answered. A woman's voice came through. Soft, sweet, laced with a sorrowful laugh. "Do you like my scent?" The bathroom light flickered. Then, total darkness. In the pitch black, he heard a slow, steady breath. The fragrance curled around him, suffocating, inescapable. Midnight postman. The streets were empty in the dead of night. The dim streetlights cast flickering shadows. Midnight struck, and the entire city seemed to hold its breath. Shani sat in his rented apartment, listening to the faint footsteps outside. Tap, tap, tap. Slow, steady, rhythmic. Like someone delivering mail. But at this hour, why would a postman be here? He checked his phone. The time read midnight. The footsteps stopped at his door. The next moment, an envelope slid through the gap beneath. A jet-black envelope. No sender. No postmark. Shani felt a chill creep up his spine. He hesitated, then bent down to pick it up. The envelope was unnaturally cold. Like it had just been taken out of a freezer. Taking a deep breath, he tore it open. Under the dim light, a single line of text appeared on the letter inside. "Leave within 3 days, or..." The rest of the sentence was heavily blacked out. Shani frowned. Was this some kind of prank? He stepped to the door and pulled it open. The hallway was pitch dark. The postman was gone. A faint musty scent lingered in the air, mixed with something strangely sweet and metallic. A shiver ran down his spine. He tossed the letter onto the table and tried to ignore it. But the uneasy feeling refused to fade. The second night. At midnight, the footsteps returned. Tap, tap, tap. Louder this time, pounding against his nerves. Shani bolted upright in bed, staring at the door gap. He knew it would happen again. Sure enough, another black envelope slid inside. He swallowed hard. His fingers trembled as he picked it up. Ripping it open, he read the words. "Leave within 2 days, or..." The rest was blacked out, just like before. His heartbeat thundered in his chest. His breath came short and ragged. Who was doing this? The hallway was silent. Yet downstairs, footsteps echoed once more. Tap, tap, tap. He gathered his courage and yanked open the door. Nothing. The hallway was empty. But on the wall near the elevator, a new message had appeared. "The postman is on his way." The letters were smeared, as if something wet had dripped over them. Deep, crimson streaks. Shen Yi's throat tightened. Slamming the door shut, he locked it. This wasn't a joke. But he still refused to believe it. The third night. Before midnight arrived, Shen Yi was ready. He wouldn't just sit and wait. A kitchen knife was clenched in his hand. His eyes fixed on the door gap. Tap, tap, tap. The footsteps were heavier this time, like something massive pressing against the floorboards. The black envelope arrived right on time. His fingers were ice cold as he picked it up. He ripped it open. This time, the handwriting was crooked. Like someone had carved it in with something sharp. "Leave tonight, or..." The sentence wasn't blacked out this time. Instead, the ink trailed into incomplete words. "The postman will collect you." Shen Yi's pupils constricted. Then, the lights flickered and went out. From outside, knocking sounded. Thud. 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 Not normal knocking. It was heavy, like something slamming its head against the door. The doorknob twisted, creaking. Shen Yi's whole body locked up. His grip on the knife tightened. Cold sweat streamed down his forehead. From under the door, a strange scent seeped in. Rotten, metallic, thick with decay. The footsteps moved into the room. Shen Yi froze. Terror paralyzed him. The door was still locked. But that thing, it was already inside. He didn't dare turn around. His phone screen lit up. A notification popped up. "Midnight postman, delivered." Shen Yi's eyes widened. Behind him, a low voice murmured. "Have you received your letter?" Darkness swallowed the world.
Alright, today's story ends here. Wishing all our dear listeners and viewers a peaceful and restful night. If you could leave a like, a positive review, and subscribe, your wishes will surely come true, and fortune will follow. Good night.